What is up, food fans? It's Bobby, and Thanksgiving is just about upon us. And let's be honest, Thanksgiving is all about those yummy side dishes. So today I want to share with you a simple and delicious side dish that will be the hit of your Thanksgiving dinner, and it has bacon. I hope you're ready for roasted Brussels sprouts and squash with a bacon fat vinaigrette. And for this video, I'm collaborating with my friends over at Oscar Mayer Bacon to show you how Thanksgiving recipes can only get better with bacon, and to share with you that epic, amazing feeling that comes with making perfect bacon every single time. To get this recipe started, I have some Oscar Mayer thick cut bacon in front of me. For this recipe, I need 8 ounces or half a pound. I'm doing thick cut bacon. When I cook it in the pan and render all the fat out, I'm gonna be left with really crispy, big chunks of bacon. Before I put this into a hot pan, I do wanna cut it down into what the French call lardons. I just call them little cubes of delicious bacon. So line up a stack right here and cut them into bite-sized pieces. Now the cool thing about the Oscar Mayer bacon is that every slice is hand cut, and you can tell its quality because every slice is consistent from end to end. Sometimes you get bacon that's too fatty and it falls apart when you cook it. This has the perfect amount of fat and pork. All right, now to cook the bacon, I'm preheating a large pan over medium heat. If I have the pan too hot, the bacon's gonna cook too quickly and you won't render out that fat and it won't get nice and crispy. And I don't know about you, but making the kitchen smell like that beautiful bacon and having all that fat render out and that bacon gets super duper crispy, that for me is a bacon must. All right, while the Oscar Mayer bacon gets nice and crispy, we can move on to the oven roasted Brussels sprouts and squash. For the squash, you guys pretty much know by this point I'm obsessed with delicata squash. Number one, you don't have to peel it, so that appeals to all the lazy buds out there like me. And it gets so sweet and roasty in the oven. The safest way to cut it is grab a knife and then use a rolling pin to tap the knife all the way through the squash very safely. And then use a spoon to scrape out all the seeds, and then cut the squash into about 1/4 inch half moons. Now, if you guys can't find delicata squash for some reason, you can do this with butternut squash or acorn squash. Just cut it thin like this also. All right. Delicata squash is done. Now for the Brussels sprouts, these are not going to be the sprouts that your mama used to make that she'd boil or she'd steam for like an hour and the whole house would smell like sulfur. These are going to be oven roasted and crispy and delicious. And by the way, preheat your oven to 425 degrees right about now. And the way I like to break down these Brussels sprouts is just cut off a little piece of the end and then have them. And try not to buy Brussels sprouts that are too big. I'm gonna simply season this with a good shot of grapeseed oil, maybe about 2 teaspoons in each bowl, a half a teaspoon of salt, and then a few cracks of black pepper. Check out my bacon. I wish you guys had smell-o-vision. When are we gonna get smell-o-vision to push to you guys? Because the bacon is smelling so good right now, and slowly but surely, I'm rendering that fat out of there. You can see it's starting to get crispy in spots. All right, let's grab these sheet trays out of the oven. And then be very careful because they're smoking hot. And then carefully spill the squash on one and the sprouts on the other. You hear that sound? That is why I stuck these sheet trays in the oven. They're gonna start getting roasty and toasty and cooking ASAP. Now shake it into one even layer, or carefully do it with your hand. And then I'm gonna put these back in the oven for about 25 minutes. All right, now getting back to the bacon, this is what you want to see. Your patience has definitely been rewarded, and all of that yummy bacon fat is really starting to render out now. Now this is the base for our bacon fat vinaigrette. I want to keep adding to that and building flavors. So I'm going to go in with a couple tablespoons of red onions that are finely chopped. Shake in a few tablespoons of walnuts that are finely chopped. And then I want to get a little garlic flavor in there. So go in with 3 cloves that are finely minced, and then give that a good mix. Oh my goodness, you guys. First of all, bacon fat smells amazing. But then when you add the aromatics of onions and garlic, Lord mercy, you have to make this because the smell of this alone is like Thanksgiving worthy. I'm gonna grab a nice piece of bacon here. Exactly where I want it. It's salty, it's meaty. And I do have a general rule about cooking with bacon. If a recipe calls for 4 strips, make 5. If a recipe calls for 7 strips, make 8, because you know you're gonna snack attack that like nobody's business. So just do yourself a favor and make extra. Now, think about it. We have salty bacon, we have all that luscious bacon fat in there. To counter that, I'm gonna splash in some red wine vinegar for acid. And then I wanna drive home those fall kind of Thanksgiving flavors. And for sweetness, I'm gonna put about a tablespoon of maple syrup. And then to emulsify the vinaigrette or to bring it together, I have some whole grain Dijon mustard here. And I'll add about a teaspoon. So just like making a vinaigrette for a salad, we're pretty much doing the same exact thing here, except we're using bacon fat, which is better than oil. And it's Thanksgiving, you gotta step up your game just a little bit, right? Oh my gosh. I could eat this by itself. Bacon is salty and crispy, the nuts are perfectly toasted, and that vinegar is cutting through the richness just perfectly. This is gonna make the ultimate side dish. All right, you guys, when I said your mama's Brussels sprouts didn't look like this is what I mean. Look at those roasted caramelized exterior, but the middle is still creamy and delicious. That just creates so much roasty, nutty flavor. And the same thing with these squash. Nice and caramelized on the outside. That is just gonna make the flavor 10 times better. I'm gonna put the Brussels sprouts into a clean bowl. And the same thing with the squash. By the way, for the squash, I kicked the broiler on for the last 3 minutes just to get that nice color. While the squash is still hot, I'm gonna add some fresh parsley. And then the bacon fat vinaigrette is still bubbling over here. I'll give it one last stir. And then dump that beautiful vinaigrette all over the squash and the Brussels. This smells so good, you guys. And then give it a good mix. And it's great to do this while the veggies are hot and the vinaigrette is hot, so all the flavors really get infused. The smells coming off this bowl are unbelievable, and now I have the hard job once again of checking for seasoning. I want to get a bite of everything on one fork here. You guys, the flavor in this bowl is banging. The Brussels sprouts and the squash are creamy but roasty and nutty on the outside, and that bacon vinaigrette has so much flavor, it's off the charts. Now this is how I would plate it up for Thanksgiving or for the holidays family style. And then add a little fresh parsley on top. And then much to my surprise, I did not finish all of my snacking bacon, so I'll take the leftovers and just put it over the top of the dish. And there it is, you guys. Roasted Brussels sprouts and squash with a crispy bacon fat vinaigrette. I get excited about Thanksgiving when you make the perfect Oscar Mayer bacon like this and add it to a Thanksgiving side dish and just make that side dish levels and levels better. If you want this recipe, it is down below in the description box along with those bacon pro tips from Oscar Mayer. Make sure you check those out. Once again, when you make this, tag me on social media, share this video, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. If you want to see 2 more awesome videos, check out the ones below me. Happy holidays. Peace. Keep on cooking.